Got everything switched around. It is body time now. The pan's 95% done. Brakes, grommets, gaskets, bushings, everything is completely new. So I got one heater channel just tacked in. A couple tacks in there, a couple tacks over here. But for the most part, it's held in. About 6 hours later, cutting the old one out and getting this one in. So, be on to the next one, and then start fixing this stuff back here, and the rear body mounts, and then a couple little patches, little things. You know, this little section here, it's got that hole in it. It's got the other fender hole. And some buffing and clean up, go through the wiring, drop the body on. So the next thing I have to do is fix that little spot, and then there's one right there. So I need to weld a patch in there. I did weld a patch up here at the firewall. So it's done. I'll seal that all up, seam seal it, and clean it real well. Not the prettiest, but it works. Two heater channels in. Got a little grinded on some of my welds, but gotta do a little grinding, but overall it lined up pretty well. Door shuts pretty good. You gotta love that. Well, it took a couple weekends, but heater channels are in. And I kind of cleaned them up and seam sealed them and primered and tried to paint match. It's close. Again, I'm not going to repaint this, so I'm just trying to get as close to it as possibly can. And if it gets scratched up and scuffed up along the way, then it only makes it look more real. So next piece is to try to figure out what I'm doing with these guys. I've got the new ones down here. And I've kind of figured out how they fit and everything. So it looks like, for the most part, let's see if I can get in here. I figured out that they overlap there. So this piece is actually, I gotta drill out spot welds on this piece now, so I can break these two pieces free. And then I just have to remember that the passenger side overlaps the other one when they go in. So that should be interesting. And then these pieces will actually cover, you know, and fix all this back end area. So I just have to figure out how much more metal I still got to take out of here. Cut some, and then I got to do a real repair there where that bolt hole for the fender was rusted out. So yeah, I think I'm going to tackle these two pieces, and then I'm going to replace the inner sides of this package tray, luggage tray, and at the same time I have the new body mounts. So chop those guys up and get those in there. I don't want to cut out a ton of metal because it all still looks really good, but the body mount itself is pretty bad. I mean, it's moving. I can almost pop it out. So at that point, I know I can't, you know, that's not good. So it's definitely got to get replaced. I thought originally when I pulled the body off, I was like, I can spot weld it in, I can fix it and do some patching, but that's pretty rough, and it's about the same on the other side. So body's off, gonna do it, may as well just do it right. Replace what needs to be replaced. I've kind of gone through and treated with that rust converter ultra all of my underneath stuff. I did it also in the front end. I don't know. So I did it all up in the front end too here, just to make sure. It looks like I missed a couple little spots, but and then I painted it. Like I said, it does paint does somewhat match. May not look like it on camera, but it's pretty close if you clean up the edges, and let's see how close it is. But like I said, I wasn't looking for perfect. But yeah, patched all of my firewall stuff up front, and our fender wells. They're a little sloppy. That's just seam sealer on them. I just slapped seam sealer across the whole thing because it went up pretty high. I went up about another 1.5 inches higher than what it was. But it'll do. Nobody's going to see it. And that way it can flex. So, quick little update. Walking in front of the light. I just did the rear body mounts both sides. And kind of used a board and the clamp, and with a bolt going through, so I could make sure that my height and the alignment of the body is going to be right going onto the pan. It's always like, that's probably going to be the most stressful part of when I actually drop the body back on, hoping that everything lines up exactly like it should. But you know, I kind of did the same thing with the template before I cut out the old heater channels. Kind of made a template going across and took measurements and everything. So I just didn't have enough guys to, you know, pick up and move the body back and forth, nor enough jacks to do it myself either, of jacking it up and putting it on giant sawhorses on the front and back. I've seen guys do that too, and I just didn't have that kind of stuff. So I just kind of had to proceed and be as cautious as possible. So now I'm gonna start probably patching the inner wheel wells where I cut out the body mounts. I have those sitting over there, and finishing up my CVs, because of course I want to put those on while I'm in the pan instead of laying on my back. Did get my block, my case. It gets out of a 73 thing, so it's like it's an AM case, which doesn't really matter. But had it tapped for full flow. So got a bunch of my engine parts down here. Crank I just cleaned up and used engine brushes in, and all my bearings and lifters and all that stuff. Reconditioned rods, and gasket kit and everything. Pretty much where we're at. So I just got to work on the package tray, the wheel well, rear wheel well areas, and then the body's going back on the pan, which will be nice because I'll be able to get my garage back. You know, it's basically like having 2 cars parked in here. So once I can get it down to taking up one spot, it'll be so much nicer. Build the motor, get the motor in. Well, build the motor, test it, run it, break the cam in, put it in the car, and then onto electrical, which I hate. So that'll be interesting. It's not a bird's nest in there, so that's the plus, but wiring and the headliner is what I'm kind of stressing about. I hate doing headliners. So that is pretty much it for now. See you guys.